Welcome back to Huskers Live. We had a little bit of a hiatus last week. That was my fault. Apologies there. My dog was not eating and could put no weight on her legs. So yeah, she was falling flat on her face, wasn't eating, skin and bones. And she's been around since 2015 for me. So she's a little bit older. And had to get her taken care of. $600 later, I found out she has really bad arthritis and fell and hurt it. And so she's getting treated for that. So that is why we couldn't do it on Tuesday. And then scheduling conflicts, couldn't do it during the week. So we are back, but we got a packed show for you. That is the best part about today's show. It is jam-packed with a lot of stuff. I don't even know why my background is not up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a professional show that we're doing here.
There we go.
It's supposed to be a professional show that we're doing here. I didn't pull my back. I was like, something looks off about this. But we had the March Madness tournament end. And more importantly, Nebraska are the kings of college basketball. Let's just be honest. We're the only ones with the crown. We're the only ones with the crown. So I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what anybody cares about that other tournament that happened. That was boring the whole way through. You was excited. It was very boring. But we did have a tournament challenge, bracket challenge, and unfortunately, me and Brian kind of got hosed last night.
Oh gosh, that's awful.
If Houston would have won, me and him would have finished 1 and 2 in the bracket challenge, but we would have given the prize to third place anyways. But seeing as the officials kind of didn't want Houston to be able to play defense at the towards the midway through the second half. Yeah, they kind of took all the momentum away. So let's go ahead and announce our winner of that. And I believe it was, what was it? JR's, let's see, trying to remember the name of it. Husker Power JJRs. So if anybody in here is Husker Power JJRs, go ahead and DM me on X, _H-Town Husker. So that way I can get your $50 gift card out to you for winning that. So congratulations on that. Again, we got kind of hosed there. Houston did. So I'm a little upset about that, but let's go ahead and let's talk about Nebraska's little run there. Why don't we? So I'm going to get in some of the comments real quick here. So hello, all. Finally made a show. Been a bit trying to stick around for a bit this evening. Go Big Red. The basketball championship was, it was very fun to watch. That is very fun to watch. Hit that like button. I appreciate you. Yeah, if you are in here, please drop a like on the show. It really, really helps me out. What's going on, Justin? Appreciate you hopping in here. Is that Justin's there? I see JR. So I was wondering. I thought that was him, but I could be wrong. What's going on, Minnie? I appreciate you hopping in here. As always, Minnie, you can see her over at Coronation on Mondays. Good show over there. I bailed one time. Apologies, Minnie. Get on that. Had to work late at work, and yeah, I got off super late. So I owe her one on that. So y'all go over there, check out that. Got to take care of our fur babies 100%. You know that. Nebraska winning the crown tournament makes the 69th best college basketball team, but number one in my heart. But yeah, 69th. I mean, what's better? 69th or first? Probably 69th.
I'll say 300K for the winning. I don't think Florida got 300K.
No, not at all. They got one of those dinky little national championship trophies. I'm here for 30 minutes before I got to catch my LSU game. Go Big Red. Appreciate you hopping in here. Never mind me. Yes, that is my bracket. All right, Justin. Yeah, go ahead and DM me on X or in that little chat we got. I think I'm still in it. And I'll get your $50 gift card out to you for winning that. So good job on that, man. Congratulations. Go Big Red. Crown champs and getting Lawrence back. Solid week. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into the Nebraska basketball. So why don't you go ahead and take it away for me? Give the audience your breakdown of the game and a little play-by-play what happened.
Yeah, so Nebraska won, as we all know, 77-66. Now, basketball is a game of runs, and that game was exactly like that. And at one point, Nebraska had a 12-point lead in the first half. They completely blew it. In the last 3.5 minutes of the first half, they didn't even score. And then the first 4.5 minutes of the second half, they didn't even score again. So you're talking about 9 minutes or so without a single point. I think during that time, UCF went on a 23-3 run. It was absolutely insane. Nebraska was down 14. I was sitting there and I was watching at work, and my coworker comes up and he goes, "Man, y'all are ass." And I said, "This is a game of runs. Just give it a couple minutes." And that couple minutes turned into a 24-3 run when I stopped counting. And that was primarily without Bryce Williams doing anything. Bryce Williams didn't score a single point in the second half until under 3 minutes left in the second half. which is insane. If you would have told me Nebraska went on a 24-3 run without Bryce Williams, I would have been shocked. The leaders 100%, of the Connor Season, Andrew Morgan, Juwan Gary really led it after coming back from getting hit on the head by that guy's elbow. He sparked a 6-0 run. UCF called timeout, and Nebraska just kept that momentum. Caleb Jacobson came up huge. Connor Season was on fire. Yep. Here's a cool thing too. UCF's leading scorer the previous 2 games had a combined 73 points. Sam Hoiberg was one defending him, and Caleb Jacobson for pretty much the entire game. He had 4 points on 1 of 11 shooting. He was 0-5 from 3, and he had 3 turnovers.
Yep.
2 walk-ons.
The swap. Can you hear an echo? Can you hear an echo, by the way?
It's a little echoey. That's why I'm pausing a little bit.
I have no idea why mine's echoing.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
But is it pretty bad?
Mine's not terrible. It's like a split second, so that's why I pause for a second to catch up.
Hopefully y'all can't hear the echo, but I can deal with it. Let me know if y'all can hear the echo. But yeah, overall, a great performance. What did you feel about the MVP?
Oh, Juwan Gary was 100% deserving.
Yeah.
During the tournament, he was like 70% from 3 or something. I mean, it was unreal. He had probably like 8 to 10 rebounds every single game. He was scoring 15 to 20 points. He was phenomenal. We're going to miss Juwan Gary so much next season.
Yep. I'm going to pop back in because they can hear the echo.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. We're going to continue on. Other guys here. Caleb Jacobson obviously hadn't played much at all during the season. He gets inserted into the starting lineup after hardly playing. And in those 2 games, he had 21 rebounds, 7 steals. He shot 65% from the floor. He had 5 points in a matter of 2 or 3 possessions. It was a huge 5 points too. Connor Season was clicking super early in that game. And you can tell when a shooter like Connor Season is clicking, even if their shots aren't going in. Really what I look for in a shooter like Connor Season, his decisiveness when shooting. Does he catch and release really quickly? Does he pause? If he's pausing, he's not feeling it. If he's releasing quickly, he is on target. Then you look at the shot itself. Is it left? If it's right? If it's short? Is it long? Most of his early shots were long, but they were right down the middle. So I knew he was going to be just a matter of time for Connor Season before he eventually got things going. He had 21 points in only 27 minutes of action. And like I said, Juwan Gary, phenomenal game. Really a phenomenal tournament. Junkyard dog. He had 20 points, 8 boards, 2 assists. I think that was probably it, mainly for the stat portion of it. But the hustle plays that a guy like Gary or a guy like Hoiberg or a guy like Jacobson make, those are the plays that win you a crown championship, or they win you games just in general. Having that extra effort that you put in. I'd say Juwan was probably the heart of the team. No question in my mind about it. I don't know what your thoughts are about it, but we're going to miss Gary quite a bit. And then Bryce was Bryce. He's the best player in the Big Ten, arguably, in my opinion. He's got such a smooth shot. His game is so effortless. It's like when you watch Bryce play, it looks like he's not even trying. And that's really like a testament to an elite player when it looks so effortless. They don't even break a sweat. That's just a sign of an elite player. He had 21 points. He had 15 of those in the first half. He had 7 points that were in the final 2 minutes where he iced the game at the free throw line. In fact, the free throws were the only points he made the entire second half. 4 boards to go along with 3 assists. And that pretty much wraps up kind of how that game went for Nebraska in the Crown Championship.
Testing. Still echo. It's unfortunate. All right.
Do you want me to hop out real quick?
No. Go ahead and hop out. Let's see.
Okay. 2 seconds here.
Testing. Sorry, y'all. All right. Can you hear me? Everybody? Okay. The echo went away. So it's Brian's fault. So fix that. Pit Snipe, is it still there? I know you just said it's there now, but I know I just don't want you to have to deal with it. But it seemed like when he popped out, it went away. All right. It seemed like it might have been on your end. That's weird. So, did you know Jeff Sims still has 1 year of eligibility left? How old is he?
25, probably.
Yeah, dude, he's up there. Is he still playing? He should retire. Really, Walter Kreitz, I know, right? Nobody wants to know that. Gary's super tough. Williams should have a long career in the NBA with how his shot's been going. How do you see, because it was this weird thing where Hoiberg to A&M was a talk and stuff like that. Like what, with Nebraska, and some people I feel like were for that, for Hoiberg being swapped out or whatever. But I feel like if Nebraska restarts again, like I feel like we can't do that. It's like you got to continue to try to build off of what you got. And it seems like they've got good momentum to build off of now. So, I think this might have changed some people's opinion on Hoiberg, hopefully. But where do you see Nebraska football or Nebraska basketball like in the next, couple of years?
Whoever they bring in through the portal is going to be huge. They've got some decent role players, but you need a dude. I mean, Nebraska hasn't got a guy through the portal that's going to supplant the production you're going to miss from Juwan and from Bryce. That's my biggest concern. I personally, I look at the trajectory of Nebraska, and I was out on Fred after a multitude of issues on the road games, like multiple blowouts by 20 plus points. But being able to, after not winning a game for 46 days, hadn't played in 3 weeks, go out and win the crown, play as well as they did, has me feeling pretty good.
Yep.
And part of that too, like you have Rank Mass coming back. You finally have a true post. I don't like Braxton Mia was a post player, but he was not Rank Mass, and Bear K is not Rank Mass. So you're getting him back. The problem for them is they're going to need to find shooters, and they've kind of addressed that a little bit through the portal, but they still have like 6 spots open on their roster. I think next year's a big year for Fred. If he doesn't win like 18, 19 games next year, it's going to be hard for me to be convinced that he's the right man for the job. And that's just because he's been here for 6 years. He's got an 83 and 108 record in 6 years.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, Nebraska's won more games than they've ever had in a 2-year span. So that's why there's kind of like this positive trajectory. It seems like he's altered his system a little bit to the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's just they got to do it for a full season, man.
Yeah.
It's just there's too many ebbs and flows. There's not I don't know if it's a depth issue, which it seems to potentially be. The Big Ten last year, it was couldn't win on the road. Like there's always something that just seems to kind of hold this team back a little bit from taking that next step. And it's just that's the hard part about potentially restarting is it seems like we're so close right there, knocking on that door. It would suck to kind of have to restart back over. But it's a matter of it's got to happen soon. Kind of like you said, it's like it's now or never. And let's go through some of the some of the potential. Let's go to the portal ads and look into some of those guys. So you had a pretty interesting stat about Price Sanford. Small
I'm going
forward.
to read that back into the.
Yeah, go ahead and pull that up. But averaged 22.8 minutes a game last season as a sophomore, 49% from the field. So. As y'all can see there, had a box plus minus of 4.3 and an offensive efficiency rating of 126.8 per 100 possession, which is crazy high. Would have ranked number 2 in the box plus minus and offensive rating number 1 on Nebraska's 25 roster. As it says, part of it system related, but consider Price only averaged 22 minutes per game. So, shot 49% from the field, 40% from 3, takes care of the ball. Doesn't turn it over a lot, less than half a turnover a game for the first 2 seasons. So, more of a wing, kind of like you put in there, more of a wing than a small forward. Doesn't play inside much, but it's just going to help kind of expand and spread that floor out a little bit. So, Price Sanford, interesting there, but just shows kind of his ability and what he potentially could be.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't following this account on X and you want the best Nebraska basketball analysis, someone who truly understands the game, you need to be following Pavelka's fat uncle Park_Nebraska or NEB on
Great
X, because that dude is so smart. He has so much insight, way more. He probably has forgotten more than I'll ever know. So you should be following him if you care about that type of extra analysis, that stuff you don't normally hear about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're gonna reach out to him and try to get him on the show too, to talk a little basketball. Since y'all seem to like the basketball stuff a little bit, even though season's ended, but maybe getting some off-season stuff, talk about the transfer portal and little things like that. So now let's go ahead and talk about a few more players. Now, pronunciation here. Do you know how to
may God have mercy on your soul.
Igneus Jerzavicius. I'm just going to say
Yeah.
Juravich. I'm just going to say Juravicious.
Yeah, that works.
For Central Michigan, 6'10", 220. That is a rough name to try to pronounce. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and talk about him a little bit?
So this is a guy, like, nobody knew who he was in terms of like the portal. I don't think many programs knew he was even in the portal, if we're being honest. This commitment came out of complete left field. I think even Robin Washa, who's like the best, news reporter for Nebraska basketball, posted like his quote was like, "From out of nowhere, Nebraska lands this whatever guy." And I was like, who the heck is this dude? I've watched a little bit of his film. Now at 6'10", 220 pounds, I worry about his size in the Big Ten. 220 is a little light. He's not overly athletic, but he's rather athletic. He's like more athletic than Braxton Mia. Braxton Mia is kind of just like a big lumberjack. This is a guy that he plays back to the basket. He's shooting within 10, 12 feet. He's not going to shoot the three very often. Never visited Nebraska, only visited via Zoom, which to me, I don't know how you could commit to some school you've never been to, but it's his final year. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
He's from Lithuania. 1 year of eligibility. He's going to probably play the 4 primarily, with Rank masked at the 5. I could see a situation where if like Rank has been in for say 10 minutes straight, they'll pull him out and they'll pull in. I don't even know how to. I'm going to call him Ungnius.
Yeah,
that's when I guess they would bring him in and he would play the 5 for a little bit. And then that's probably, you're going to pair that up with Berke as well. So you'll have Berke, this dude, and Rank kind of all in that 5 and 4 positions, just kind of depending on the scheme. We've seen it too, like this year. Braxton Mia would play a lot some games, and then some games he wouldn't play just because of their opponent. Started his career at Cal State Bakersfield. He is a 54% shooter from the floor. He averaged 16.2 points per game throughout his career. 7 or so rebounds per game, 71% free throw shooter, which is really good for a big man. He's a first team All MAC. 50% shooter from the field for his entire career, which is really, really good. True post players, my notes. True post, back to the basket. Good enough athleticism, can make some shots through contact.
Yeah, 170 free throws too, team high. So good at getting to the line as well. So
yeah.
And at 71%, not terrible, not terrible at all, especially for a bigger guy who they tend to struggle at the line a little bit, which never made sense to me. They're closer to the basket, but they're like eye level with it. But now let's go and talk about the big news of the morning: Jamarcus Lawrence returning.
Yeah,
that is a big one. That is a big one for Nebraska.
Yeah, this is big for Nebraska because he requires very minimal coaching in terms of like teaching him the system and teaching him the standard and the expectations, because he was here for 2 years. The reason why he originally left was because he's an off the ball guard. He's a shooting guard. He's a 2 or a small 3. In Nebraska, his final year, his first stint, Nebraska was thrusting him into this point guard role because they had nobody to run the point. And that is not his specialty at all. He started all 31 games at Rhode Island. He was voted team captain his only year at Rhode Island. He was 10 points per game, about 2.5 assists per game. He shot about 40% from 3, 42% from the field. Really good shooter from 3. And then the one concern, and this is why he didn't want to play point guard, is because he turns the ball over. That's my one concern. His assist to turnover ratio is not very good. He's averaged his entire career 2 assists and 2 turnovers per game.
Yep. Yeah, he's one of those guys. He reminds me. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on who I'm thinking of. Dang it, I can't remember off the top. Like an Eric Piatkowski type, where he could just light it up from 3.
Eric, oh man, he was good.
Yeah, he was. Eric Piatkowski. That's a throwback right there.
Probably a top all-time player at Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely. Ty Lue's up there. Who's number 1?
Bryce Williams now too.
Yeah, who's number 1?
All time?
Yeah. Ty Lue?
I'm going to throw, probably Tyronn Lue, but I'd say like my favorite Husker of all time is Alex Marriage.
Okay, I can see that.
I don't feel like he ever got the appreciation that he deserved.
Yeah,
truly dominant big man.
I could definitely see that. Yeah, for sure. Interesting conversation, because it's kind of crazy that there's no clear cut number 1. And it's just like, it seems like the top is shows how little talent Nebraska's had, but we've had a lot of talent at the same time. But it just seems like
Mhm.
none of them kind of come to fruition, and that's the biggest thing about the portal. So, is getting the most out of these guys that do come in. So,
Yeah.
now moving over to Kendall Blue. A little bit about him if you want to break him down, and Ezra Asa. Will Cooper as well.
Yeah, so we can start with Will Cooper. He's a true freshman at Air Force this past year. He didn't redshirt. He's from Omaha. He's a 6'6" wing. I don't have a lot of feel for it right now. He's probably going to be a Husker because he's from here.
Yeah.
He played 50 points per game at Air Force. His numbers are not great. 5 points per game, 2 rebounds per game. Pretty good shooter from 3 at 38%. 45 from the field's pretty good as well. He's probably more of a depth piece. Probably would spell Price Sanford a little bit here and there. And that's if he comes here. I think he does, though.
Yep. And Kendall Blue, 6'6", 190, shooting guard from St. Thomas, Minnesota. So 12 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, 52% from the floor, and 42% from three, which at 6'6", 42%. That is a tough ass to guard. But 190 definitely needs to put some serious size on. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's like a combo guard. I could see him probably playing the wing too. Like if they had a smaller lineup where you could probably slide, like if you wanted to stretch the floor, you could put like Bearcay at the 5 or Rank at the 5, Samford at the 4, Kendall Blue at the 3, just to really space that floor out a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a legit dude for Nebraska. I think I'd say they're probably running first or running second right now in his recruitment. 12 points per game, like you said. That's not great for, being at like a smaller school like St. Thomas, Minnesota, but Nebraska needs dudes that can shoot. And what do you see when you look at him? You see 52% from the floor and you see 42% from 3. If he can get you, 6 to 7 shot attempts per game, you're going to make some money with him.
That's a pretty high clip. That is a pretty high clip for sure. And then Ezra Asa, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's definitely Ezra.
Ezra
Asa would be my guess. He's a big physical power forward.
He's big.
Yeah, he's more of like a I described him as like a smaller Braxton Mia. True back to the basket. He's not going to shoot from like outside 10, 12 feet. He's going to get you some hook shots. 12 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. He shoots 52% from the field. I labeled him as like a block type player, like a guy that really you're just going to be back to the basket, find the block, get position, get your hand up, get the ball inside, and then move from there. I think he's probably going to be better than what Braxton Mia ever was at Nebraska, just because he's got consistent production at Utah. Braxton Mia was always a guy like at Washington where he was getting like 8-10 points a game, but he's really just like a physical presence on defense. This guy can do both. And he probably runs the floor a hell of a lot better too.
Absolutely. All right. So that kind of covers the basketball segment there. Spend a little extra time on it, because it's nice to win some tournaments. So something we're not used to. But let's slide over to football and let's talk a little recruiting. And you can pull up that graphic here. And this kind of just showing, a little bit of a breakdown here of some of the guys of the 2026 class, which is what we're going to talk about. And then some interesting stuff for a certain player in the 27-28 class. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Overall, looking at the board, what are your thoughts?
Nebraska is really loading up on options at offensive line. The defensive line is a little bit of a concern. Just kind of the options they have is very minimal. But I really like this offensive line board. There was one guy that was supposed to visit, but he ended up committing to, was it Clemson or Florida or some school? Maybe it was Miami. But they've got a lot of options on the offensive line that I really like. And Titan Davis and Valden Stone are elite players for Nebraska. And I think Nebraska's probably in the lead for both. Unfortunately, I think I threw up the wrong graphic there.
Oh, you might have.
Yep, I did. Give me a second here.
The professional show, sir. And we got some interesting notes on Trey Taylor as he moved his commitment date up to when was it? Thursday.
May 1st.
May 1st, that's what it was. So Thursday, May 1st, moving that up might be a good sign for Nebraska on the quarterback, but we're going to dive into him a little bit more in just a second. Talking about some of the players that visited. Edge Cameron Wilson visiting this weekend instead of last weekend. So early commit to Syracuse. Started to kind of take off on his recruitment, pass rusher, potential jack. There could be a kind of a versatile type of edge player, 6'5", 215, but he's a big old dude. So yeah, kind of like we talked about the differences in the front before, Nebraska moving to kind of more of a 4-man front. So do a little bit of everything. You can stand him up, you can put him down in the 3-point stance. Kind of put a little bit more weight on him. He's got the height, he's got the length, but just needs to put some bulk on. So seems to be between Nebraska or Florida State, interestingly enough. But yeah, so what's your takeaways on Cameron Wilson?
I think he's a really good option for Nebraska at this edge / jack spot. I think they're probably keeping him very warm for some of the bigger names and kind of see how their board falls, which I think I like. Luke Waffle's a guy that I think they would take a commitment from instantly, but I don't know how likely it is Nebraska gets him. And I think like once we kind of figure out what Luke's doing is when we can figure out how aggressive Nebraska will pursue Cameron Wilson. I think he's going to flip from Syracuse. It's just a matter of when and who. Does he want to stay south? Because he's from Florida. So does he want to stay closer to home, or does he want to come out to the Midwest where we actually have like winter and stuff?
Prepare for the NFL, man. Come get you experience in that cold weather. So
I think Nebraska's a good shot.
Yeah, I kind of like our odds there. Yeah, it would be a great get just on the kind of the measurables alone. Seems like they could do a lot of good work with him. Corey Campbell will put that weight on him for sure, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Moving on to defensive end edge Luke Waffle. Great name.
Nebraska's making it tough for him. His brother plays at Penn State, and hell of a name.
Yeah.
His brother plays at Penn State. He just transferred there from Michigan. I think that's where he likely ends up, is more than likely going to be Penn State or even somewhere on that northeastern part of the United States. I don't know how likely it is he ends up coming all the way out to Nebraska. But Nebraska getting him for an unofficial visit is big because they're paying their own way. So there is legit interest if you're willing to pay for those flights, those hotels, to travel halfway across the country to Nebraska. Now, if he locks in an official visit, then it's on all these guys too. If you lock in an official visit with these guys, everything changes from there on out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it's going to be tough. But I think Nebraska is really good in that D end edge department. You know what I'm saying? So I really want to looking at Devin Jackson, for instance, that secondary, that depth we need. Those are the guys too that we really want to focus on, the cornerbacks, the safeties. So we'll move over to safety. Devin Jackson committed to Florida, teammates with Danny Odom, kind of a multitude of can play kind of versatile cornerback safety. But Nebraska kind of likes him at safety. 6'2", 190. It's Florida looks like the front runner, right? So got to make some ground up. Getting an official visit will kind of tell us where we stand. So what are your thoughts on Nebraska's chances there?
Well, this is his second time paying his own way for an unofficial visit. He came in at the end of it was beginning of February for that Elite Junior Day. It was him and Danny Odom and a bunch of players that came from the Southeast. Paid their own way. Now they're coming back. That's huge. Like I said earlier, Nebraska has a chance to flip him. If he does leave the South, he's coming to Nebraska, if you ask me. Yeah. But does he want to leave home? Florida's really kind of on the upswing, I guess you could say, with recruiting, with their NIL, now that their lawsuits are kind of past them for not paying players correctly. It's going to be tough to pull this kid away from the Southeast, but Nebraska has the option to say, hey, look, because Danny Odom, I don't think, is being offered by Florida. And so they could say, hey, look, you're going to be here potentially with Danny. You have someone someone you've been friends with your whole life. You two can come tear it up in Lincoln together. I think that's a good selling point. Absolutely.
Yeah, that kind of just brings it together where you can have two teammates. We saw the teammates before, although it didn't work out. last season, but it does kind of give that familiarity, and would be very interesting to see a couple of teammates, team back up. So, so let's talk about Danny Odom a little bit. The cornerback there, 6'1", so a little bit longer than a couple of the guys we got. Still not that, that full length of your Blight Hill type 6'3", but pretty good size, versatile too. Nebraska wants him to play cornerback, so 160. So definitely needs to bulk up. Ball skills are there, and second visit for him on his own dime. So that's a key point between Devin Jackson and Danny Odom there, both of them coming out for the second time on their own dime. So also both here for the Elite Junior Day in February. And you think we're in a good spot with them for sure.
I think Nebraska's probably the leader for Danny Odom right now, and his recruitment has been ticking up for a while. It won't be long before these re-rankings come out where he's more than likely going to be a consensus 4-star. Yeah. Nebraska's got some inroads in Florida and Georgia, and they're exploiting them like crazy. Addison Williams has been recruiting Danny Odom for years back at UCF. That's where this connection with these two, Devin Jackson, Danny Odom, comes from, is from Addison Williams, 100%.
Yep. Yeah, and looking at our chat here, the Jeff Sims conversation is fantastic. Sims' birthday is New Year's Day 2002. So 23, how are we talking about Jeff Sims? Let it go already. Justin, there you go. NASA's going to hate cover on team next year. Joe Walter still at it. Let's see. David Hoppin, all-times point leader. Yeah. Good call there. Good call there. Yeah. Husker Wrestling, real champs. Hard to argue that. Jeff Sims loves Husker Wrestling. Little game, James Franklin. Got my spring day tickets. KC against Cincy tickets. Can't freaking wait.
Well, we'll be there. I'll be there.
Cincy. Yeah, you'll be there. You'll be there. I would love to.
I think he's talking about the home opener against Cincinnati, or not the season opener against Cincinnati.
That's why I was like in Kansas City. That's why I was confused. I'm like KC against Cincinnati, but I assume that's what he meant by that for sure. Yeah. Now, the big talk of the offseason, besides the secondary, has been the offensive line. So let's talk about Rex Waterman a little bit. Interior offensive lineman, plays tackle. Looks to be everybody wants him as an interior offensive lineman. So go ahead and give your take on Rex Waterman there.
Yeah, he's got good size, 6'5", 295 pounds. He's playing, I believe, left or right tackle right now at Basha down in Arizona. But everyone wants him as an interior offensive lineman at 6'5". Typically, that's where you would go. You know, if he's 6'6", 6'7", you're probably into tackle. But Nebraska is, I think, the front runner by a substantial margin. If I had to put like a commit watch on anybody that's visiting this week, it might be Rex Waterman. They're the first school from the Power 5 to offer him a scholarship. And then I think Duke came in, UCLA came in, his home school, Arizona State, came in with offers. The real ones to watch are going to be UCLA and Duke. Arizona State, I don't think, is in it at all. If he takes a visit there, keep an eye out. But I'd say it goes Nebraska, UCLA, Duke in that order for Rex right now.
Yep. Yeah, I like Nebraska's odds with Rex for sure. 6'5", 295. Yeah, just a solid guy. He's going to put some bulk on naturally, but just even coming out just huge. Pretty good balance. Like I feel like he's good contact balance. I feel like he's got a lot of good footwork, but just needs to bulk up a little bit more to play on that inside. Yep. So, but yeah, like our odds with Rex for sure. And I'll drive up the road and since I'm out in Arizona, and see if I can do a little convincing myself. Maybe throw him $20. See if that'll sway him.
Yeah, and you got to think too, like, he plays at Basha, which is, aren't they like one of the best schools in the country every single year? Yeah,
they're up there. They're really good.
And they're playing elite competition week in and week out. I know they play a national schedule too. So he's battle tested. That's
very, very important. Yes, absolutely. Because you see a lot of these guys, you don't know what to think of it because they're just beating up on much smaller guys, less skilled guys. So when you see some film of a guy who is playing against high caliber competition, that says a lot. So shows why Nebraska likes him. Moving back to the secondary, let's go talk about cornerback Major Hinchin. Newer offer in March. Addison Williams again, kind of on that one. But potential priority cornerback. Go ahead and give your thoughts on Major Hinchman there.
Yeah, I think he's moving up Nebraska's board steadily. He did lock in an official visit, I believe. I am under the impression that they're keeping him kind of lukewarm right now.
Yeah.
They got to see if they can keep CJ Bernot. And really, too, even if they do keep CJ Bernot, do they miss out on, say, a guy like Danny Odom or other guys that are maybe a little bit higher on the board? And then you have a really good fallback option with Major Hinchman. The one thing, too, is I always say look at the offers, not the stars. And that would be like my one like kind of red flag is it's UConn, Nebraska, and UNLV, and that's it. So I'm not sure. I haven't watched his tape. I'm not sure where those offers are coming. But he's a big corner. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He's got really good length that you'd look for in a corner. Maybe he got hurt last year. I haven't done a ton of research on him, but based on those offers, you'd have to say Nebraska's the favorite. I don't think anyone wants to go to play for UConn or UNLV, who flat out said they don't have money to pay their head coach. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, UNLV was a fun story there for a little bit. That quarterback situation in their season, but don't expect that to continue. Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of look at his film. I haven't really been able to take a peek at his just yet. So it'll be interesting to go over that and just see, what it looks like considering the offers. But yeah, usually the offers tell a pretty good bit. But sometimes, like you said, watch the offers. Team makes an offer and all of a sudden the stars start going up because the team made the offer. So really hard to tell sometimes with these recruiting rankings where everybody sits. Now let's get to the wide receivers. So we got Jaden Warren, Jabari Brady, and Nayland Scott. Who's your favorite of these, would you say?
Jaden Warren and Jabari Brady. Yeah.
I would say Jaden Warren is probably my favorite.
Swinging for the fences right now.
Yeah.
With recruits. I mean, they are like the wide receiver room. They are going after the biggest of big names in recruiting.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and hit the portal hard, wide receiver, out of the gates early, spending a lot of money. But yeah, you look at Jaden Warren. Nebraska's been recruiting him for a while, but a 4-star, top 180 overall, top 20 wide receiver nationally. Oklahoma and Houston been getting on him. Nebraska got to make up some ground, but his unofficial visit will help. Getting an official will be huge. So Nebraska's in his top 6. I believe that was released yesterday.
Yep, it was, which is huge.
Yep. So Nebraska in his top 6 as of yesterday. So I would say Jaden Warren out of these 3 is probably my favorite. Jabari Brady, the other guy you were talking about, big time potential wide receiver prospect, 6'2", 190. Miami's the favorite, but Nebraska kind of up there with them. So Nebraska's been in a lot of recruiting battles and a lot of stories with Miami here in this Florida area too, or dealing with these Florida schools. So, but yeah, kind of wants to stay closer to home. That's going to be an uphill battle to fight. But we heard that with Michael Terry last year. He wanted to stay in Texas, but it was one of those things where it's like he was willing to branch out and potentially go elsewhere after he visited the school. So that close to home thing can be, when you come into a school that kind of it gives you that family vibe, that atmosphere, that can sway a lot of schools to feel like a home away or people to make it feel like a home away from home. So can make some good progress there. And then Nayland Scott, you want to go on him, just big body wide receiver.
Yeah, Nayland is I'm not sure how close Nebraska is, honestly. I think they're in a fairly good spot. But you're seeing a trend here with all 3 of these receivers. Big body, physical receivers. Not many guys that are 6 foot, 6'1", that are speed burners. They want those big physical bodies. Georgia's definitely the favorite here. Auburn and Michigan, I'd probably put ahead of Nebraska right now. He's got his visit coming up this weekend, April 11th. That's going to be his second unofficial visit to Nebraska this year. So again, like Nebraska has this chance with him and Jabari Brady and Jaden Warren to just keep climbing up their list slowly but surely. Nebraska's in a pretty decent spot to make a move this weekend. Again, I think he's staying closer to home. And if we could just backtrack to Jaden Warren too real quick.
Oh yeah.
When Nebraska was recruiting him last year and then Garrett McGuire was let go, I guess you could put it. Nebraska lost complete communication for 2 months, if not more. Yeah. And out of nowhere, he's here. Yeah, I'm coming up for an unofficial visit. I think there was this transition period with Dykeel Shorts and Dana Holgerson where they kind of had to reset their recruiting board completely. And they just kind of lost track, and Jaden kind of fell between the cracks and then resurfaced. And somehow Nebraska is like skyrocketing up his list. I would probably put them closer, like of that top 6, closer to that top 3 if I had to make a guess today. And then Jabari Brady too. He's had 2 unofficials to Nebraska already. He's already locked in an official visit too for the summer. Nebraska's really high on him, and he's really high on Nebraska too.
Would be 2 huge gets.
It'd be
talking about the wide receiver room, just a completely different approach than Scott Frost had. You know, we didn't have a receiver over 6 foot at one point with Frost, which is insanity. And it's just a completely different approach now with Matt Rule. You know, he's a mixture of kind of these burners, but even some of the burners, you know, you had Isaiah Nair last year, who's 6'6". You know, so even some of the burners are some of these bigger guys, you know, even though Nair didn't pan out, but he was a bigger body who had that speed and had that athleticism and that wiggle to get free. So not shying away from the Big Ten size, the wide receivers there. So obviously probably want to get better at the perimeter blocking, you know, those big body guys, but also just have an options for these guys who can go up and get balls, which is what we haven't really had recently. You know, we had Jamal Banks last year, but albeit the offense was terrible. So trying to get some more of those guys in and recruiting, not just trying to get them in the portal, but get them in recruited, trying to bring them up and develop them is going to be huge. But a good stable of wide receivers coming in these recruiting classes. So, you know, love to see the momentum continue there. But let's go ahead and talk and transition over into a little bit of O-line talk. Center, Justin Evans Jenkins, which we talked about before. I think, you know, we both kind of saw him. I'm pretty sure you saw him as the front runner to take over at that center position. I wasn't sure if you thought it was him or who else. What were we talking about?
I thought it was going to be Sam Sledge.
Sam Sledge. That was who it was. I thought it was going to be Justin Evans.
More ready than what's appearing to be, honestly.
Yeah. So Sledge working at center right guard right now. Jake Peters was working at center with Houston Kahana Torres, who I can't wait to see Houston Kahana Torres when he develops a little bit more, gets out there and put some size on him too. So, what's your thoughts on the O-line right now?
Right now, I would say I'm a little shocked that Justin Evans is kind of taking over at the center spot for Ben Scott. I really thought it'd be Sam Sledge. I thought he'd be ready. It makes me a little concerned that he's potentially not ready because he's going into year 3 or 4.
I think 3.
And then you have Sam Sledge for 2 more seasons. Justin Evans Jenkins for 2 more seasons. So maybe you slide Sledge to right guard or left guard after Rocco and Henry Lutovsky leave, maybe.
Yes.
I think Jake Peters and Houston Kahana Torres could be really any 3 spots on the interior offensive line. My big thing is like left guard, right tackle, which is like the next kind of topic we're going to cover.
Yep.
There's a lot that's going on those 2 positions specifically, and that's where I've got like all my focus on the offensive line are those 2 positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Left guard, Jason Mesajek, who made an appearance on the depth chart in the bowl game. So making some moves this spring. Going to be on the 2 deep as you projected. He's going to be on the 2 deep. I think that might be the same case because he's a hard worker, obviously shown by the fact that he made the 2 deep. Turner could slide back to left guard once he returns. So,
that's where he started his career too. Turner.
Yeah. So once Gunner's healthy, you think Gunner's going to be the starting right tackle or Lutovsky? I think we both basically our O-line predictions were the same outside of the center position. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. The good thing with like Nebraska is once Turner comes back and Lutovsky comes back, they have so much position versatility. They can basically play anywhere from left guard to right guard to right tackle, and you're really in good spot with both. I think Turner. Probably, like I've always said, I think Turner's probably gonna be a backup anyways for his final year. I haven't seen enough from Turner for me to get super pumped about it. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Jason Machachek, is that how you say it?
Mashajek, something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if you're starting left guard next season.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. But I think Gunner's gonna hold down the right side for sure.
Yeah. Can you back out and come back in?
Yeah, mine's echoing really bad again.
I don't understand StreamYard sometimes. So Try to back out, go back in.
Okay.
All right, we're good. Moving on a little bit, talking about Phil Snow and his role. Phil Snow working with all the freshmen, redshirt freshmen, kind of developing those guys in the secondary. Butler kind of working with those guys who are already ready to rock and roll. And getting the upperclassmen ready to go. So Williams taking the season older players with them. Snow has a group of younger guys, kind of breaking them up into what Matt Rule talked about, where he was kind of doing that NFL model where it's just like, you got your 53-man roster of your guys ready to go. You got your 53-man roster, or however it breaks down the numbers there of guys who are kind of in that developmental stage. So you see how they're kind of splitting up those roles between those guys. So, Phil Snow, though, just going to be excellent, kind of working with those guys and really mentoring those guys.
Yeah, love Phil Snow. Like, I think it was John Butler was like, he's got 100 years of experience coaching, so you have to lean on that. And Absolutely. I also really love the idea of him, like you were saying, kind of breaking into the smaller groups with the younger players and kind of just letting them develop and not worry too much about them learning the entire defense, because we know most of them are probably not going to play much. Yeah. So let's work on their technique and their abilities, and when they're ready to play, we'll throw them with that bigger group.
For sure. Getting to some of the comments. Walter, Alex Orji going to tear it up in Dan Mullen's offense at UNLV. Alex Orji can't throw the ball.
He sucks.
That's a big problem. He's terrible. Yeah. Alex Orji is not going to do anything. Slamming Sammy Sledgehammer. Okay, I'm back. Had to grab ice from a big red box of wine and a frosty pint, no less, because I'm that fancy. Pinky out pit snipe. The only way to do it. The way Gatula played, have faith in our younger O-line guys. I do too. I just think I would in this year 3, would have more confidence in some sure things. I think that's the biggest thing is it's one of those things where it's I compare it to the way I talked about the Astros rotation, starting pitching rotation this year, right? If everybody lives up to expectations and what we anticipate they can be, then we'll be fine. But it's that kind of unknown of some of these guys who, have had moments and have had really bad moments. And it's kind of lessening those really bad moments because you look at the teams at the top, they block consistently well. Throughout the game, they may have missed blocks here and there, but there's not those series where they're just kind of mentally seems like they're out of it or getting blown by. And then, they'll have periods where they're good. It's the consistency that's the issue there, in my opinion. That's the worry. It's not like I don't think they're going to be good. We love what Raiola's done with the O-line. They should be good. And that's why I feel pretty good about it. But it's just that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind.
It's his first true offensive line unit that's going to be primarily his dudes.
Yes.
And that's why I'm not terribly too worried about it, because the best players on that offensive line last year were his dudes. Ben Scott and honestly, probably Gunnar Gatula.
Yeah.
Considering how young he was, he played damn good.
Yeah, for sure. BA, what's up, man? Appreciate you hopping in here. Goats. BA, as always. BA's doing good out there, head coach out in Kansas. So he's been coaching his guys out there. So congratulations on that again, man. And I hope it's going well with the young bucks out there. So we'll see him on the Nebraska staff sooner rather than later. How O-linemen will they keep? 16 or more? How many O-linemen? They're going to keep as many as they possibly can.
Yeah, we got the 105 roster cut coming in on April 15th, I think.
Yeah, about a week.
Yeah.
About a weekish, something like that.
You can carry 115 into fall camp now, but they still have to lose 15 plus guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so there's going to be some cut down, but I guarantee they're going to try to keep as many O-linemen as they can. Walter, very possible we may not need to get rid of anyone for a year or two, depending on what the judge decides.
I was reading about that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Did you all notice the difference in Satterfield? It looked like he's found his niche. I don't know, man. Satterfield just bothers me now. Just knowing about Satterfield is just like, I don't know, man. He's on the staff. We'll just leave it at that. He's still on the staff, whether we agree with that or not. It's fine. In a good spot. How so, Judy? You mean in a recent presser? That's what I was wondering too. Probably in a recent presser, I would imagine. Oh, the one today. I did not get a chance to check out his one today yet. I had my boxing training before, and then we hopped on here prep for the show. So I'll check that out. Be curious to see, but I guarantee you he didn't get asked about yards per play. Speaking of that Holgerson mention, he didn't ask how many yards per play or whatever at the end of his. That was funny.
I loved when he leaned in. He goes, yards per play matters, and then just walked off.
That one right there. That was hilarious. Talking about position changes. Ramir Stewart been at safety, working with the inside linebackers. 5'11", 210, and then Jordan Ochoa moved to Jack, edge rusher, 6'5", 240. Pass coverage be work in progress with him. So, and we saw him a little bit in the bowl game there. Got some reps there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But thoughts on Ramir Stewart and Ochoa's moves?
I was going to ask you, is 5'11", 210 too small for a linebacker? Unless you're using him as like a coverage linebacker.
Here's the thing. It depends on it. He's going to be a package linebacker for sure.
Yeah.
It is undersized for an inside linebacker, but I feel like they may have him out there, when they really are in those obvious pass situations, maybe when they're running that 3-3-5 and they really want to have those smaller speedster guys out there. Maybe you pull them down to kind of take a running back out of the backfield. Maybe you bring him in a spy, but yeah, pretty undersized for an inside linebacker, no doubt.
Yeah, because if you're running like a nickel, you would still have it's Drew Blank. Oh my God, Javin Wright. You'd still have Javin Wright on the field in a nickel.
100%. Yeah, you got to have Javin Wright out there.
I guess I don't understand the purpose of it unless they're just trying to tinker with things and just see where you best suit. Because 5'11" is tiny.
That's my thoughts. Like maybe they're just figuring out what they have in him there. I feel like, some of this experimental stuff is just really like, maybe they see the potential of it, but they're sliding him over there to see, or maybe they see a better path for him to have playing time at that position. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm with you. Kind of confusing to me. But until, I trust, Butler on that defensive side of the ball. I trust, his opinion on things. So maybe he sees something in there that'll fit his defense. And if so, I'm all for it. Jordan Ochoa, like I said, he got some playing time there in the game against Boston College. So it'll be interesting to see his development. But yes, definitely needs to work to be a little bit more versatile. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
the question everyone answers to.
Yeah. The depressing news of the week, Hardley Gilmore. So let's dive a little bit into the situation there. So give your breakdown of the entirety of the Hardley Gilmore situation. You posted a video on it earlier this week. So
yeah. So I got word Monday night from someone I trust, and their words to me were they were 90% sure he was being kicked off the team. And I was basically like, okay, I'm not saying nothing until like you have more confidence than that.
Yeah.
And it was Wednesday night. I was like, yep, he's gone, 110% confident. And then I texted you like first thing Thursday morning. And I was like, this is what happened. He's gone. Pretty confident. And so then that's when I was like Thursday, I was like, I'm going to kind of just address the situation because it was getting to be pretty public at that point. Like the rumors were swirling. And I was like, I'm just going to go out and say what I know, but I was not going to confirm that he's kicked off the team because I didn't feel confident putting my name on that without being 1,000% sure from me. And then shortly after, of course, Saturday rolls around. Coach Rule, yep, he's dismissed from the team. Don't want to really get into too much about what happened, but there's only a few things you can do to get kicked off a team, and that was one of them.
Yep.
Leave it at that.
Hardly, I was going to say highly unfortunate. I said hardly unfortunate. I just wanted to point out Judy called pin sniper. So I don't know why that was so funny to me, but yes, Hardley Gilmore. That is a big blow. Was going to be very good, but yes, no longer with the team. Did some things that were frowned upon, and with a player that talent, if he went wrong and did something, and to get him kicked off the team, it was something they couldn't look past. So now Hardley Gilmore's now gone, so we won't spend too terribly much time talking about him. Let's talk about the rest of the wide receiver core. Quinn Clark, big-bodied outside wide receiver. He was the guy that, when Holgerson came in and talked about guys needing to see more playing time, he was one of the ones that was on, traveled with the team out to, what was it, USC, I think it was?
Yep,
USC game. So, it would be really interesting to see what they're able to do with him now kind of in the offseason with Holgerson, and just kind of, seeing the development there and seeing what he saw in him. And then we got Demetrius Bell. You want to talk a little about Demetrius Bell?
I think everyone knows how good he can be. We saw those flashes last year in the spring game. And then, of course, the turf monster just tore up his knee. He's still recovering from that surgery. But one thing we know with Coach Rule is he's like overly cautious with injuries, especially of the knee. Like if he doesn't feel like it's a need to get out there, he's not going to put you out there. He's going to make sure you're 120% cleared. So I'm not too worried that he's not practicing right now. But I look at him as more of a slot receiver to go along with Ja'Cory Barney. Yeah. And when we're talking about replacing what we think Hardley would be, he was a guy that was going to probably play outside and inside.
Yes.
And so now you kind of have to make up that spot with a handful of guys. And who are those guys going to be? I think Quinn, Demetrius is going to be one. Janiron Bonner's kind of got a unique skill set too. What do you think about Janiron?
Yeah, and I like what you put there with the H-back role. I was a big proponent of having a good solid H-back last year and using them in a lot more ways than we did. Illinois used their H-back very effectively against Nebraska. So I think that would be a great role for Janiron, because he's got that ability. What the H-back is somebody who's a little bit more athletic than a fullback, but not quite the size of a tight end. So it's one of those guys who can go out there. You can run him out of routes. You can run him, a 45 for Northern Iowa. That guy, we shut him down, but he was one of their best offensive weapons out of that H-back role. So it's something, if you disguise it very well and use it as a setup, it's one of those things. Illinois used their H-back. They used that entire drive to set up the H-back. They kept sneaking them out on little blocks. They actually ran the route that they scored a touchdown on us 3 plays prior. They ran it slightly different, but the same exact routes concept. And so it's really kind of another method to get out there. You get that big, say Nebraska playing with lead, get out there and get big, and bring that H-back in, and you can use him to block. You can use him to do a bunch of different things. I think Janiron Bonner fits perfect for that, especially because he talked about it. He is athletic enough to be a high quality wide receiver, but we also know that he's been a really good fullback, so we know he has that ability to block and come in and fill the gap. So really excited to see what Janiron Bonner can do in this offense, if he ultimately is that H-back role for sure.
He's like a Swiss Army knife. You could run the ball, he can catch the ball, he'll block for you on the edge. I'm a big fan of what Janiron can be.
Absolutely. Cortez Mills. Let's dive into Cortez Mills a little bit.
Everyone buy your stock on Cortez Mills. I'm telling you right now, this guy is probably going to have 40 plus catches. He's going to have 500 plus yards. He's going to have, I think I posted on X, I think he's going to have a bigger year than Ja'Cory did as a freshman. He is way more fine-tuned than Ja'Cory was as a freshman, and that's not a knock on Ja'Cory. No. I think just for Cortez Mills' sake, he's just more honed in on his craft.
Yep. He's just bigger. Yeah, that's the big thing. He's bigger, so he's going to have more opportunity.
Yeah. So I think he'll still be behind Ja'Cory on like the depth chart, but Ja'Cory the true slot.
Yes.
Mills is not. Mills you can put outside, you can put inside, you can put him all over on that wide receiver front. Isaiah Mosey is a different story.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah. Cortez, really good route runner, really crafty in the way, even on his go routes. So I talked about that in my film review, where he went on a go route, just changing up the tempo even of his pace and just kind of blowing by guys, and that sets up those inside breaking routes and the outside breaking routes. Really good route runner. That's one of the things I noticed. So we'll probably do another film review on him if you want to go back and check out that Cortez Mills film review I did on him. Pretty good stuff there on his film. So and Isaiah Mosey, of course, son of Jamar Mosey, was committed to Oregon and then changed over to Nebraska. So kind of similar to Cortez. You can use him in a number of different ways. Use him out of the backfield. So a lot of versatile guys on, especially some of these younger guys coming in. You get that versatility on offense. I think the Hardley Gilmore stuff, we may, he was going to be good this year, but I think the potential future outlook of him was what really, really excited us too. But we got a good stable of young guys with Cortez Mills, Isaiah Mosey, Ja'Cory Barney, Demetrius Bell, all these guys. And so I think Nebraska is going to be able to platoon something that'll replace that production.
Yeah, and one thing too, like Mosey's going to be used out of the backfield because he played running back in high school as well as wide receiver. You very well are going to see formations where you're in a shotgun formation and you're going to have Emma Johnson to the right or the left of Dylan, and you're going to have Mosey to the right or the left as well. And they're going to run pass plays out of it. They may even run it with him out of it. He's really, really good in space. He's good at a phone booth too, and he's got breakaway speed. That's why I think Mosey's going to make an impact. It's not going to be huge by any means. It's not going to be like what we think it's going to be, but it's going to be 2 years down the road. You're going to be looking at Mosey as like a complete bona fide stud NFL wide receiver.
Absolutely. Four-star recruit. So the potential's there and he looks good. So as an OC sad as a catastrophe of biblical proportions, that's putting it lightly too. He nailed it in his presser today. Calmer, team player. I love it. I'll check that out then. Not everyone is suited for fame, might excel at his new position. Rule said something. I know it's hard to get past the play calling. Yeah. I'm looking at the windshield, not the rear view. It's a great way to look at it, Joseph. I once had to crank out a couple impressive tight ends. That's all, see no more. So I'm all good. Yeah. It just might be some sour grapes there. So hardly knew him. That's a good way to put it. Hardly knew Hardly. Walter, that was literally the exact headline, less Kentucky paper when he transferred here. That was old age, Justin. On the pen sniper. It's okay. I love it. Unintentional comedy is my favorite. I let it go, Justin, but I laughed at too. Let's see. What's Quinn Clark's weight up to? That's a good question. Not 100% sure. Is he at 210 or is he gone up more?
Yeah, the official Huskers.com has him at 210, but we're going to get an update probably in a couple of weeks, and he's going to be probably closer to 220. 220,
I would say. Yeah, 215 between 220. Yeah. Misty most of the live show. Go Big Red. You can go back and watch it, William. Appreciate you stopping in here, though. There it is, Joseph. He can't sue us. Hope he gets his poop in group and recovers. Weird side effect to NIL, but there's some real nice things in that locker room. Awfully tempting to a kid that comes from nothing. Not excusing him. Not sure what he's talking about. There are no secrets in Lincoln. Eventually the truth gets out. They are good at keeping things close to the vest, though, since some people leak some stuff in some videos prior. So just ask Colorado. Their whole team got jacked. One road game, not at Nebraska. Think maybe UCLA.
Well, they deserve it.
Yeah, they do. Let's just say
Colorado.
They always got it coming. But yeah, that is all we got on the show today. Had a lot to go over, and that just means football's in full swing now. That means we are going to have a lot of content coming out for y'all in the coming weeks, and planning a call-in show as well. So we're looking at potentially Thursdays for our call-in show. That way y'all be able to call and interact with us, and got some guests coming up as well, some pretty big ones. So y'all stay tuned. Pause on the pretty big ones, but pause. But yeah, so y'all stay tuned for that. If you haven't followed myself or Brian, you can follow me at _H-Town Husker, and you can follow Brian at KC Husker 24, right?
There it is on the bottom.
KC Husker 24. I got it right. Let's go.
Yep.
My memory's terrible, so it's fantastic. I remember it. Bleep CU. That's what I'm talking about, Walter. That's what I'm talking about. I like the no leaks approach from Rule. I do too. Just makes it harder for us to get information, but we got to be more creative. I appreciate you, Justin, and yeah, I'll get you your stuff over to you. We'll get you that gift card. So congratulations on winning that again. Good show. I beg and plead for y'all to go to One Wrestling Duel in Lincoln next year. I would love to. If I'm out there on a weekend that wrestling's, because I'm in Arizona right now, but go out there on family trips because my family's out there. So hopefully I'll be able to catch one. That's that for sure. Good show. Thank you, Judy. I appreciate you hopping in here. Appreciate everybody who hopped in here. If you don't mind dropping a like before we head out, or when it posts, drop a like there. It really helps us out. You know what's funny? I kind of kept it up just for the humor of it, but I put up the Nebraska Huskers live instead of my Nebraska one. Look at the top.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that.
I noticed it about halfway through the show. I'm like, I know. Well, that's the thing. I had it up like that for a while, and I made a new one, but it was just when I went to click it on. See, there's the fixed one.
There we go.
But I was like, you know what? Let's just leave it up at this point. We'll see if somebody calls it out in the comments when these are posted to a video. So, but yeah, like I said, sorry, apologies for last week's show not happening. You know, that is a rarity on this channel. I don't think we missed a week at all before that. So, but yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. And Judy's rubbing off on me with the old age, with the spelling errors. So, thanks everybody again for tuning in. Brian, do you got anything for the people before we head out?
No, I think we're ready to roll. Just stay tuned. We'll have videos dropping later this week.
Yep. And member benefits, we'll be discussing those coming soon. So thank you to all of our members. Thank you to everybody who supports the show, whether it be a like, a view, comment, whatever. It's all appreciated. So, but with that being said, we will see you on the next video. Peace.